Initial German advance and encirclement, June, September 1941. In the early summer months of 1941, as Europe lay entwined in the throes of the Second World War, a ballet of destruction was about to be performed on the Eastern Front. The characters: Hitler's invincible Wehrmacht and the unprepared Red Army, with the city of Leningrad serving as the grand stage for this grueling performance. This chapter, the Initial German Advance and Encirclement, marks a crucial turning point in the wider narrative of the war, a moment where hubris met strategy, inciting a protracted engagement that would last 872 days. The first acts of this drama, from June to September 1941, were defined by the rapid progress of the German forces. Hitler, allured by the possibility of a quick and decisive victory, poured resources into Operation Barbarossa. As part of the German High Command's tri-pronged attack, Army Group North, under the command of Field Marshal Wilhelm Ritter von Lieb, had one clear directive: to secure the Baltic states and, most critically, to seize Leningrad. Von Lieb's forces moved like a well-oiled machine, their engines humming the ominous rhythm of blitzkrieg, their tread marks leaving a stark signature on the Baltic landscape. Advancing from East Prussia, the seemingly unstoppable German columns swept past Soviet defenses, capturing critical bridges and transit points. By the end of August, the Army Group North had arrived at the outskirts of Leningrad, the city's silhouette a grim reminder of their ultimate objective. Parallel to the terrestrial assault, the Luftwaffe initiated its symphony of destruction. Aerial sorties focused on crippling infrastructure, hindering the city's capacity to resist and receive aid. Simultaneously, the German Navy initiated a maritime blockade, strangling Leningrad's lifeline to the Baltic Sea. In contrast, the Soviet response was tinged with confusion and desperation. The Red Army, still reeling from the initial assault, mounted sporadic and poorly coordinated defenses. Stalin's order, "Not a step back," echoed in the chambers of Soviet military strategy, even as the reality on the ground suggested a retreat to reorganize and reinforce. By the time autumn leaves began to fall, the Wehrmacht had completed its encirclement. Leningrad was encased in a siege ring, a chilling harbinger of the long winter that was soon to follow. Despite the impending doom, the city's spirit remained defiant, the echoes of Shostakovich's Seventh Symphony resonating across the frozen Neva River, a stark contrast to the otherwise silent artillery batteries. In conclusion, the initial phase of the siege of Leningrad encapsulates the rapid German advance and subsequent encirclement of the city. It was a time of swift movements and sharp shocks, a testament to the brutal efficiency of blitzkrieg. However, in its wake, it left a city prepared for a long resistance, setting the stage for one of the most horrific sieges in human history. Establishment of the siege and early German attacks, September 1941, December 1941. Once the German forces completed their encirclement of Leningrad in the dying days of summer 1941, the ghoulish chronicle of siege truly began to unfurl. In the chilling embrace of autumn, a ghastly overture rang out across the city. This haunting phase, aptly titled "The Establishment of the Siege and Early German Attacks," would cement the city's fate in a sordid dance of destruction and desperation from September to December 1941. Underneath a thickening blanket of Russian autumn, the Wehrmacht, unyielding and relentless, played their part with dreadful precision. The tightening of the blockade entailed not just the physical encapsulation of Leningrad, but also an intricate design to crush the city's morale. Bombardments reverberated through the city's skeleton, the cacophony of falling masonry and distant sirens setting the rhythm of this dreadful waltz. A profound realization was beginning to dawn. The isolation was total, and the German grip was ironclad. Parallel to the rain of shells and bullets, an invisible yet insidious adversary began to gnaw at the city's lifeblood: hunger. As the temperatures dipped, the German maritime blockade's true impact emerged. Rations dwindled, and the city was forced into a cruel diet of desperation. The rhythm of life in Leningrad became a slow, agonizing march, measured by meager meals and punctuated by air raid sirens' discordant notes. Hitler, in his remote lair, was convinced that Leningrad would capitulate, a prediction as frosty as the Russian winter itself. He ordered the continued bombardment of the city, hoping to crumble its spirit. But in the city's heart, defiance began to rise, a counterpoint to the outside assault. Despite the initial shock and despair, the city's inhabitants were unwilling to yield their symphony to the oppressor. Ironically, while the early German attacks aimed to dismantle Leningrad's fabric, they inadvertently reinforced the people's resolve. Shostakovich's Seventh Symphony, known as the Leningrad, rang out from loudspeakers, its powerful melodies drowning out the noise of German artillery. The city had found its rallying cry, its anthem of resilience in the face of devastation. In sum, the establishment of the siege and the early German attacks were a complex tableau of struggle and endurance. From the tactical machinations of the German forces to the rising spirit of resistance within Leningrad, these pivotal months set the tone for the ensuing siege. It was a dance between life and death, each step a testament to the unyielding spirit of Leningrad and the grim determination of its besiegers. It was a dire prelude to a winter that would push the city to the brink, yet reveal its indomitable heart. The Starvation Winter, December 1941, March 1942. As autumn ceded ground to the unforgiving Russian winter, the shadows of tragedy grew longer over the beleaguered city of Leningrad. The onset of winter heralded a chilling new chapter in the city's saga, the Starvation Winter spanning December 1941 to March 1942. This was no ordinary winter. It was a brutal symphony of icy temperatures, relentless bombardments, and a haunting specter of starvation. Winter arrived draped in a frigid cloak, its icy tendrils snaking through the city's streets, compounding the people's misery. The normal cycles of day and night lost meaning, swallowed by the long polar darkness that matched the gloom engulfing Leningrad's heart. Amid the hushed whiteness, the city's pulse began to falter. However, a defiant ember refused to be snuffed out, glowing brightly in the bitter cold, a testament to the resilience of Leningrad's denizens. On the other side of the encirclement, the German forces watched the city's plight with chilling apathy. Their maritime blockade had reduced Leningrad's rations to a dire trickle, the scarce calories barely enough to sustain life. Each day that passed was a macabre minuet between the dwindling food supplies and the growing specter of hunger. The city's symphony of survival became a dirge for the thousands who succumbed to starvation and cold. Yet this cruel tableau of survival was punctuated by poignant notes of humanity. There were bread lines stretching across snow-laden streets, their shuffling rhythms etching a testament of desperation into the icy landscape. The city's children, too young to understand the depth of their plight, yet profoundly affected, forged small victories against the winter's tyranny. A found mitten, a warm corner, a half-eaten piece of bread. Amid the overwhelming despair, these fleeting moments of triumph created a counter-melody of survival and hope. The Starvation Winter pressed on, its icy grip tightening around Leningrad. But instead of yielding, the city clung to life, its spirit refusing to be extinguished. Every day that Leningrad survived was an act of defiance, a refusal to surrender to the combined assault of cold, hunger, and German artillery. In summary, the Starvation Winter was a testament to human endurance in the face of unimaginable adversity. It was a grim, relentless dirge marked by starvation and freezing temperatures, yet punctuated by moments of poignant humanity. Amid the icy desolation and the specter of death, the indomitable spirit of Leningrad held firm, etching an enduring legacy into the annals of World War II history. The Road of Life, Lake Ladoga Supply Route, Winter 1942, Spring 1943. In the cruel theater of World War II, a unique drama unfolded on the ice-bound expanses of Lake Ladoga. A lifeline materialized amidst the frost and snow, an artery of hope leading to the stricken heart of Leningrad. The stage was set for a memorable act in the city's desperate fight for survival, running from the winter of 1942 through to the spring of 1943. This period bore witness to a literal and metaphorical journey of resilience, the construction and operation of the Road of Life. Like a steel spine coalescing out of the frozen vastness, this remarkable highway of ice held a paradoxical duality. Born of unforgiving winter and brutal siege, it was a symbol of human determination in the face of catastrophe. The road of life carried the weight of an entire city's hope as trucks laden with food, fuel, and supplies roared across the brittle surface, casting stark silhouettes against the unyielding whiteness. Yet the road of life was more than a frozen highway. It was a battlefront where human lives were the wager. The cruel dance of warfare didn't cease upon the icy tableau. The German Luftwaffe hovered ominously overhead, turning the lifeline into a perilous gauntlet. Trucks skidded, people slipped, and lives were lost to the abyssal depths of the Ladoga, their stories frozen in time and ice. Simultaneously, this precarious path offered an escape route from the city's relentless torment. Lines of wounded soldiers and civilians, carrying the imprint of the siege on their bodies and souls, trudged across the ice, seeking solace in the hinterlands beyond the city's ruins. Their journeys told stories of resilience, of human beings' indomitable spirit fighting against the unmerciful winter and the harrowing circumstances. Despite the relentless assault of the elements and the enemy, the road of life refused to buckle. The Lake Ladoga route carried millions of tons of supplies into Leningrad, easing the city's suffering and playing a critical role in the city's eventual survival. Every truck that roared across its icy surface, every life that was saved, was a symphony of hope resounding across the barren landscape, echoing into the annals of history. As the siege of Leningrad entered spring 1943, the road of life gradually melted away, its purpose fulfilled, its legacy enduring. It had facilitated Leningrad's survival through the harsh winter, serving as a poignant testament to human resilience and resourcefulness in the face of despair. The road of life on Lake Ladoga had not merely been an ice-bound supply route, but rather a monument to humanity's unyielding spirit in the face of overwhelming adversity. Operation Iskra, partial lifting of the siege, January 1943. In the annals of the World War II narrative, January 1943 marked the climax of an agonizing struggle, a riveting chapter in the epic siege of Leningrad. The stage was set for Operation Iskra, a strategic maneuver that would glow with the luminescence of hope amidst the gloom of despair. The flames of this spark, as Iskra translates, attempted to pierce through the chilling mist of Leningrad's darkest winter. As the city choked under the icy hand of the German siege, Operation Iskra arose as a desperate gambit, orchestrated by the Soviet High Command. The plan was intricately drawn out, seeking to cleave through the ironclad German lines, akin to a skilled surgeon's scalpel dissecting a malignant tumor. A feat easier envisioned than executed, yet the stakes were never higher, and failure was not a luxury the Soviets could afford. A dual-pronged offensive, carefully choreographed and resolutely executed, was the lifeblood of Operation Iskra. Two Soviet forces launched from the north and south, intending to pierce the German stranglehold. Amidst a cacophony of gunfire, the deafening roar of tanks, and the soul-shaking thud of artillery, the soldiers hurled themselves into the fray. Blood and sacrifice etched the path that would reconnect Leningrad with the world. However, this was no rapid blitzkrieg. The beleaguered city was a pugilist in the final rounds of a brutal match, each move calculated, each punch a desperate bid for survival. The icy landscape became a brutal adversary in its own right. Frostbite was as lethal as a bullet, the piercing cold as devastating as an artillery shell. Yet against this canvas of destruction, an unlikely victory was forged. On January 18th, the two Soviet forces, after days of unrelenting battle, finally met, a small corridor linking Leningrad to the rest of the Soviet Union. The stranglehold of the Germans was loosened, and the city, starved and battered, could finally breathe. However, Operation Iskra was not a grand finale. It was a prelude, a glimmer of hope in the relentless darkness. While it broke the direct German encirclement, the siege was far from over. Yet the lifeline had been established, a slender artery pumping the much-needed supplies into the city's battered heart. In essence, Operation Iskra was a triumph of human spirit over adversity. It was a testament to the strength and resilience of a beleaguered city and its indomitable defenders. The narrative of Operation Iskra still resonates powerfully, a spark that ignited the beginning of the end for the dreaded siege of Leningrad. Continued siege and Soviet counteroffensives, 1943, January 1944. As the narrative thread of 1943 unfurled, the beleaguered canvas of Leningrad bore witness to a dichotomy of deathly silence and defiant roars. The story was far from over. The German noose was still tightly drawn around the city, and Operation Iskra, a victory in its own right, was not the final act of this tragic play. The siege continued, a grim testament to the savage ballet of warfare. Yet the city, in its resilience and valor, was preparing to author a tale of unprecedented counteroffensives. The first half of 1943 was earmarked by the Germans' attempts to reinforce their positions around the city. A lull in the German offensive onslaught, a semblance of respite, perhaps, but the specter of the siege still loomed large, its icy grasp refusing to relent. Leningrad, bruised and battered, continued to gasp for breath, a struggling swimmer amidst the tumultuous sea of warfare. Yet, beneath the pall of despair, the seeds of resistance were being carefully nurtured. In the grand war room of the Soviets, strategies were being drawn, troops marshaled, resources mobilized, and an aggressive counteroffensive blueprint was taking shape. The siege needed to be broken, not merely survived. This period saw the Soviets executing several daring counteroffensives. The first came in the form of Operation Polar Star in February 1943. A multi-pronged offensive, the operation aimed to shatter the German lines around Leningrad, hoping to repeat the partial success of Operation Iskra. The execution was relentless, the combat ferocious, a brutal testament to the desperate struggle for freedom. As the pages of 1943 turned towards its latter half, the Soviets had launched multiple successful counteroffensives, pushing the Germans further back from Leningrad. Each offensive bore testament to the spirit of resistance, a city and its defenders refusing to bow down. However, the stranglehold of the siege remained. The winter of 1943 was followed by the long-awaited Soviet counteroffensive, Operation Neptune. In this operation, the Soviets launched a massive assault aimed to finally lift the siege once and for all. As 1944 dawned, the stage was set for the climactic showdown. In the theater of the Siege of Leningrad, the curtain was rising on the final act. It was a play of survival, courage, and resilience. The people of Leningrad, amidst their suffering and loss, were preparing for the grand finale. Their indomitable spirit shone through the shroud of despair, a beacon heralding the coming dawn. The siege continued, but so did the will of Leningrad, an unbroken symphony of defiance echoing through the annals of history. Operation January Thunder, lifting of the siege, February 1944. With 1944 came the harbinger of change, a rolling thunder that would crack open the icy grip of the German siege on Leningrad. The January sky, stark in its icy facade, played host to a tempest not of nature, but of Soviet resolve. Operation January Thunder. This was not merely an act of military offensive, but rather a poignant overture in the grand symphony of resistance, aiming to sever the chains that bound Leningrad in its grim grip for nearly 900 days. The backdrop was a grand theater of war, painted with hues of desolation and resolve, where soldiers were both actors and spectators. Their stage was the snow-drenched expanses around Leningrad, their audience, the scarred city longing for liberation. The scene was set for the final offensive that aimed to shatter the German encirclement and bring an end to the prolonged agony. As the curtains of January parted, the Soviets began the grand ballet of warfare with a powerfully choreographed strategy. The 8th Army, the 67th Army, the 2nd Shock Army, and the 42nd Army, these were the stalwart dancers on this grim stage. The symphony of warfare commenced, guns and mortars playing a deafening crescendo, while the footfalls of soldiers echoed a rhythm of relentless determination. The German lines trembled beneath the thunderous Soviet assault. Bunkers were stormed, trenches overrun, and for every foot of ground contested, the Soviets bared their teeth in defiance. Every day was a struggle, a fierce dance where the boundaries of endurance were continuously stretched and redefined. The climax of this symphony was a moment etched in the annals of military history. By late January, the German encirclement was breached. Leningrad, a city that had endured the siege for over 2 harrowing years, finally saw the German stranglehold weaken. The Soviets had broken through, the city's long winter of despair slowly thawing into a hopeful spring. With the lifting of the siege in February, the crescendo of Operation January Thunder gradually softened to a tranquil melody of victory and liberation. Yet the echoes of this historic event continued to reverberate, a poignant reminder of Leningrad's ironclad resilience. As the curtain fell on Operation January Thunder, the narrative of the siege of Leningrad had reached its conclusion. A tale of indomitable spirit and resilience, an opera of human survival in the face of profound despair, had drawn to a close. Yet the echoes of this story continue to resonate, an enduring testament to the city that refused to kneel, even in the face of impending doom. Aftermath and recovery, post-February 1944. In the wake of the thunderous fury that was Operation January Thunder, the scene that unfolded was akin to the morning after a fierce storm. February 1944 witnessed the beginning of a new chapter, a narrative of recovery and renewal, scribed in the remnants of the siege-stricken city of Leningrad. It was a testament to the undying spirit of a city, a people, rising from the ashes of destruction, gradually piecing together the shattered fragments of their existence. Picture, if you will, a city ensnared in the icy clutch of a long, harsh winter. A city that has withstood the relentless barrage of artillery, the unyielding grip of starvation, and the crushing weight of despair. As the pall of the German siege lifted, Leningrad emerged, a phoenix wrapped in ice and rubble, its soul unbroken, its spirit ablaze. The thaw of spring was mirrored in the hearts of the Leningradites, an anthem of hope sung amidst the ruins, a city yearning for rebirth. And rebirth it did. Streets that once echoed with the sounds of gunfire and air raid sirens now resonated with the bustling rhythm of reconstruction. Buildings, once skeletal remnants of their former selves, gradually regained their forms, brick by painstaking brick. Yet the echoes of the past continued to linger, a haunting symphony intermingling with the hymn of rebirth. The scars of the siege were etched deeply in the city's bones and the souls of its people. The healing process, both physical and psychological, was a dance delicately choreographed on the fine line of resilience and remembrance. A dance enacted with dignity, grace, and unwavering determination. Amidst the flurry of reconstruction and healing, Leningrad turned a new leaf in its annals. The narratives of strength and survival were penned in golden letters, stories of courage and determination seeping into the city's very marrow. The city transformed into a symbol of defiant endurance, a testament to humanity's unwavering spirit in the face of dire adversity. The post-siege landscape of Leningrad was not merely a city rebounding from the horrors of war. It was a living, breathing tapestry of rebirth and resilience, woven from threads of survival and courage. A testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity, the aftermath of the siege of Leningrad stands as an enduring beacon of hope amidst despair, of resilience in the face of destruction, and of the indomitable will to survive, thrive, and remember.